This is The Unhurried Mama, a space for mothers who are tired of holding it together and ready to actually land. I'm Michelle, and I'm a mom, a writer, but not an expert. I'm here as someone still figuring this out, doing it my way, and refusing to pretend it's perfect. Every week, we sit together and untangle one piece of the parenting knot. No tips or fixes, I promise. Just the mess, the science, and the path back to you. So pour yourself some coffee or tea, close the door, and let's begin right where we are. Last week, I told you about the night my daughter pushed me to the edge of every parenting instinct I had, and what happened when I chose to stay instead of react. And I want to pick up right there, because what happened that night with my daughter, sitting on the floor, playing phase 10, staying when everything in me wanted to flee, that was repair. That was me finally seeing her instead of the behavior. But here's the thing I didn't say last week. Seeing your child clearly, past the behavior, the defiance, and the noise, it's a practice, not a one-time event. And some nights you get it right. And other nights, you're standing in a bathroom way past bedtime, your jaw so tight, and your patience somewhere back in the kitchen where you left it, staring at a 7-year-old boy who will not get in the bathtub. That's where we're headed today. It started randomly, one day, out of nowhere, and from that night on, my son wouldn't go upstairs alone at bedtime. He'd been doing the same routine independently for months. He knew the drill. And then, just like that, he didn't anymore. Every night, I told myself the same story. He's old enough. If I keep walking him up there, am I coddling him? And underneath all of that, if I'm honest, I've taken care of everyone in this house all day. When do I get a break? Not even from a 7-year-old, apparently. So I'd march him upstairs, exasperated, lecturing him the whole way up about independence and routines and how he was a big boy now, and what I needed from him was to just do the thing. And he'd shuffle along beside me, head down, saying nothing. 2 weeks of the same fight. I was already worn down by it, already convinced I knew exactly what was going on. Then came a Monday night. I had been on a tech call for 2 hours that afternoon, trying to set up my domain and email connection. 2 hours of my life gone, and I had nothing to show for it except a tension headache and a deep personal vendetta against whoever designed that particular user interface. By the time we had dinner and cleanup was underway, I was already so done, and all I wanted was to get the kids to bed so I could have 20 minutes of silence that belonged only to me. My daughter was already upstairs getting ready. Routine locked in, no drama. And then there was my son. And here's the thing that got me. He started helping with kitchen cleanup. Voluntarily. Which, if you know my son, actually tracks. He's a team player. That's real. But at 8 p.m., when I needed him upstairs, the thing I genuinely love about him suddenly looked like a strategy. I told myself he was stalling. Go upstairs and get ready for bed. You only have 15 minutes left, I told him. No, I don't want to. You're a big boy. You've done this 100 times. Your sister's already up there. And he'd sort of hover, drift, find another reason to be anywhere but upstairs. Same as every night, I steered him towards the stairs. We were in the bathroom. It was 8:21 p.m. I remember looking at the time. He was standing in front of the bathtub, and he would not step in. I wanted to just pick him up and set him down in there, but didn't. I opened my mouth to say something sharp about bedtime and responsibility and how I did not have the bandwidth for this tonight. but then I stopped. Because something shifted in me. It wasn't a thought exactly, more like a physical thing. My body picked up something my brain had not caught yet. He kept glancing behind him, back to me, behind him, back to me, and his eyes were not the eyes of a kid running a con. They were the eyes of a kid who was genuinely scared. Wait. I exhaled. Let the lecture go. Hey, why don't you want to get in? He blinked. Those big eyes looked up at me. The have mercy on me eyes. The ones that are secretly hoping you'll understand, but terrified you won't. He hesitated. And then, in the smallest voice, it's the drain. I'm scared. A monster might come out. I want to tell you that I handled the moment with perfect grace and wisdom. I did not. I had to work very hard not to laugh. Not at him, but at myself. At the weeks of lectures, at the exasperation and the independence speeches, and the "you're a big boy now," and the fact that I had been locked in a battle of wills with a 7-year-old's imagination, and I had been losing. That's it? That's what this whole thing has been about? A monster in the drain. And yes, of course it was. Of course. His imagination was vivid and alive and doing exactly what a 7-year-old imagination is supposed to do. He'd probably seen or heard something that planted the seed. And every night, standing in that bathroom, looking at that big black drain hole, his body said, danger. And so he did the only thing that made sense. He avoided it. He wasn't defiant. He was trying to survive something he didn't know how to say to me out loud yet. So we made a plan. There was a bright blue silicone drain plug that had come with the house, the kind with 2 settings, one for baths, one that just catches the hair. It always sat on the edge of the tub, completely ignored by him, probably. That night, it became the most important piece of equipment in our home. I put it over the drain, sealed the whole thing shut. He looked at it, looked at me, and then he climbed in, turned on the water himself, and had a completely normal shower. I stood nearby and hummed Baby Shark, which, yes, he was slightly too old for, which was entirely the point. I stayed until the water ran clear and he was laughing more than he was scared. And just like that, done. Weeks of bedtime battles, dissolved by a $5 silicone plug and a song about a fish. As he got out and dried himself off, I remember feeling 2 things at once. Relief, because, oh, thank God, parenting doesn't always have to be this hard. And then guilt, low and heavy, settling into my chest, because I thought about every night I'd marched him up those stairs, lecturing him about independence. Every night his little body had been carrying this alone, and his little mouth hadn't known how to say it. And instead of asking, I had assumed. I had labeled it. I had made it mean something about him and something about me. He wasn't being difficult. He was waiting for someone to ask. After that night, something changed in him. He started telling me when he was scared, not just at bedtime, during the day, when the light shifted toward dusk and the hallway hadn't been lit yet. Mama, can you leave the hallway light on tonight? I'm a little scared. Just like that. Or, I need some comfort right now. Clean and clear and without shame. And every time he said it, something in me went still and warm, because he had learned that was allowed from one moment of being asked instead of assumed, that naming it would bring help, not a lecture. I felt proud of him, and I felt the weight of knowing it almost didn't happen that way. There's a concept in psychology called neuroception. It was named by a researcher named Stephen Porges, and it's one of those ideas that reorganizes everything you thought you understood about behavior. Neuroception is your nervous system's unconscious threat detection system. It's happening below the level of thought. Before your brain has processed anything, your body is already scanning the room and asking, "Am I safe here?" My son didn't choose to be afraid of the drain. His nervous system had already decided it was dangerous. And once a nervous system decides something is dangerous, logic doesn't fix it. Lectures don't fix it. Toughen up doesn't either. The only things that help are safety and time. And the part that really got me? Kids' nervous systems are doing this constantly. Every room they walk into, every tone of voice they hear, every change in routine or environment or facial expression, they are running a continuous background check. Is it safe here? Are we okay? Can I come apart in front of this person? And when the answer their body gives them is no, they respond, but not usually with words, with behavior, resistance, or that specific kind of stalling that looks so much like defiance, you'd almost swear they were doing it on purpose. But it's not a show. They're doing the only thing that makes sense to a nervous system that's already decided something is wrong. I had made this mistake before. There was a morning my son gripped the stair railing with both hands, crying, refusing to go to German school. And instead of asking what was underneath it, instead of getting curious, we pushed through. We thought we were teaching him resilience. What I understand now is that he was trying to tell us something. He felt behind. He felt like he didn't belong there. And we missed it completely. He never told us what it cost him to walk through that door. I still carry that one. But the drain monster taught me something the German school morning hadn't quite landed yet. Sometimes the most useful thing you can do is just ask. Ask before you assume, every single time. Because what looks like a behavior problem is almost always a communication problem. Your child doesn't have the language yet, or they don't feel safe enough to use it, or they've tried before and it didn't go the way they had hoped. So they communicate the only way available to them, through the body, resistance, and the behavior you're most likely to label as difficult. And I want to say something here about boys specifically, because I think about this a lot. My son told me he was scared of the drain, and I asked him about it with genuine curiosity. But when I mentioned it to someone later, someone older who loves him, the response was a short laugh. What's there to be scared of? It's just a drain. And I felt it, that old current running underneath, the one that says boys shouldn't be scared of things, that fear is weakness, that sensitivity is something to be corrected before the world gets a hold of it and does the correcting for you. I've watched the man I love try to hide his tears because somewhere along the way he learned that real men don't cry. And I refused to teach my son that. What he felt was real. His imagination was doing exactly what it was designed to do. And the moment he felt safe enough to name it, he didn't need me to fix it. He just needed me to stand there with a rubber drain plug and a ridiculous song until the danger passed. So here's what I want to leave you with today. Think about the behavior in your house that's driving you the most crazy right now. The thing your child does that makes you want to pull your hair out, that you've tried everything to fix, or that you've labeled, even just silently to yourself, as difficult or manipulative or defiant. What if you haven't asked yet? Not in the, I've asked you 100 times to stop doing that way, but genuinely, curiously, without an agenda. Hey, what is it about this that feels hard? I'm not suggesting you have to fix it, and you certainly don't have to have the answer either. You just have to be willing to hear something you didn't expect. And if what you hear is a monster in the drain, I promise you, the solution is usually simpler than the weeks of battle that came before it. Here's a small practice for this week. The next time your child resists something, homework, eating dinner, anything, before you respond, take one breath and ask your body, do I actually know what's going on here? Or am I running a story? You don't have to be right. You just have to be curious. I'm still learning this. There are nights I'm so tired and so done that I don't have the bandwidth to ask. And I just push through. And later, I lie in bed wondering what I missed. But I'm asking more often than I used to. And so far, the answers have never once been what I expected. Next week, I'm talking about boundaries, the difference between a wall and a real one. In the afternoon, my daughter walked our hallway 3 times before something shifted. If you've ever held a limit and wondered whether you were helping or just making it worse, that one is for you. If this episode landed, subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. The link is in the description. And if you know a mama who needed to hear this today, send it to her. She'll know why.